Today, we're going to be going over some stories and legends from my hometown of Christiansburg, Virginia. And in particular, these stories and legends are wrapped around the infamous Black Sisters of Christiansburg, Virginia.
Yeah, these stories they go back a long time, and everybody seems to have either had some type of experience or they at least grew up hearing the stories and the lore and the legends about the Black Sisters.
We posted on social media if any of our followers had any stories. We had so many responses and likes and
Oh,
comments and
tons.
emails. Gosh. And the people I know reached out to me directly with some. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy. And when I was writing all this up for the script, I got so creeped out I had to stop a couple times.
I'm telling you, man, some of these will definitely send a chill up your spine and then chase it back down. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and get into the backstory of the sisters, and then we'll go over some stories that people sent in to us.
Let's do it.
The three sisters in black were called the Black Sisters because they wore all black clothing. They wore black dresses, shoes, gloves, and veils. It was as if they were going to a funeral or mourning because the way they dressed and the fact that they only came out at night. People in town began to talk. Many folks said that they were witches. Their names were Mary Sneed, Caroline Martin, and Virginia Warlaw. Mary and Caroline came to Christiansburg in the early 1900s to help their sister Virginia run the Montgomery County Female Academy. It is rumored that the folks in town were downright terrified of these women. They only came out at night, and that is most likely because they didn't want anyone to know about what they were doing in secret. In one report that I read, they used to lock their mailman in a room and go through his stuff whenever he delivered mail. Then they would threaten to kill him if he told anybody about it. It was also reported by a cab driver that the sisters asked him to take them out to a local cemetery where they would perform rituals on one of the graves there. There are also many rumors of people and animals going missing in relation to the sisters. One being the disappearance of an at the time controversial illegitimate baby birthed by one of the students at the school. And that is also not the only baby that went missing there. Sometime after the sisters had Fletcher Sneed, their nephew, come to the school to work as a maintenance worker, Caroline's daughter Osie came to town and married Fletcher Sneed. Shortly after their marriage, Osie became pregnant, and Fletcher Sneed was found burned to death in bed. The police found his clothes were soaked in kerosene, and even though the sisters had taken out a large insurance policy on him previous to this, they were not seen as suspects in his death at this point in time. After Fletcher Sneed's death, it was up to the Black Sisters to take care of Osie and the baby when it was born. And it sounds like they didn't do a very good job of this, though. The baby went missing. And then a year later, Osi was found drowned in a bathtub. And yet another large insurance policy had been taken out on her prior to her death. After all these events occurred, the sisters left for New Jersey. Soon after their arrival, the authorities caught up with them. The police searched the school and their home, where they found several human remains on the grounds of the school. And the missing baby was found in an old well. Caroline was convicted of murder and sentenced to 7 years in a mental health hospital where she later died. Mary pleaded guilty but got off on a technicality, and after that fled to Colorado. Finally, Virginia starved herself to death before she ever saw a judge. And then after this, you'd think this would be the end of the story, but it's not. It's reported that the spirits of the Black Sisters haunt 2 locations in Christiansburg, Virginia. The first being the old Christiansburg High and Middle School that were built on top of the school grounds that the academy was built on. And we'll go over a few stories that people have sent in to us from this location.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add before we get this party started here is when it was talking about the cemetery, one of the legends that goes around and everything that was said that really I always thought was super creepy and just downright spooky, was they said that whenever the sisters would go to that one cemetery, they would do like some type of weird ritual or something other in a certain spot, and eventually that spot they did it in ended up being where the first sister was buried.
Yeah, it's rumored that that's where Virginia is buried in an
Virginia,
unmarked grave. I've seen pictures of what I think is the grave, and it's got like a broken in half headstone. It's pretty creepy looking, and there's a couple of creepy stories associated with that grave as well. But Jared, do you want to go ahead and get into the first story from the school?
Sure. All right. So this first story was sent in by a friend of Jimmy's, a fan of spooky Appalachia. So when I went to Christiansburg Middle School, it was around 1998 or 99. So there was all kinds of rumors about people seeing or hearing things in the school. People talking about the Black Sisters. I remember one time I had left class to go use the restroom. I always felt creeped out going places in the school by myself. Heading there, I saw what looked like a shadow at the end of the hall dart away. I remember thinking this was really odd. And as I was using the bathroom, I started hearing what sounded like a lady whispering or chanting. I finished my business and took off back to class as fast as I could. Wow.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of reports of stories just like this one.
Oh, yeah.
People seeing shadow-like figures in the hallways and hearing whispers. I don't know if it's the same bathroom. That's it was also a locker room. There was a report that the showers in that locker room were always real finicky and would have severe temperature changes, and it scalded one person, and they had to go to the hospital.
God bless them.
Yeah,
man.
And I've heard a lot of stories about whispers coming from one of the bathrooms.
And it's scary enough, to think that school could be haunted, and schools, even when school is in session, you're going down a hallway. Sometimes it can be a little creepy. But imagine doing that, and you see these figures, these shadows, and everything just darting around the end of a corner.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Ooh. So the next one, when I made this post on social media, one of my followers sent me a link to this paper where somebody looked into this whole thing in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I found a couple stories in there. I'll link to the paper in the description. But this happened in 98 or 99. I was working at the middle school as a service worker. I spent many late nights working at the school, moving things from classroom to classroom and helping clean. One night, another lady and I were cleaning the downstairs of the main building. We heard what sounded like something being scooted across the floor above us. We were the only ones in that particular building at the time. We went upstairs to check, and we found every door that we had previously locked was now unlocked. But nothing had actually been moved. It sounded like a desk or something had been scooted across the floor. After locking everything back up, we headed back down the stairs, and it felt like someone was on my shoulder the entire time coming back down the stairs. I could not wait to get out of there that night.
My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Dang. And these folks, I can relate. I've done, janitorial work, house cleaning work, and stuff. And these folks, they earn every single dime they get. They're actually probably underpaid for what they got to do and go through. But can you imagine, knowing you're the only one there, especially, in that area and stuff and everything, and start hearing and seeing all this stuff, man.
A lot of these reports were sent in by people doing custodial work.
Yeah. And
late at night.
Yeah. It's like, and it being late at night, Lord, that makes it even spookier.
I had heard, I didn't put the story in there because it was so short, but another custodian reported that they were cleaning the school about, I don't know if it happened always or how often this happened, but he always knew that it had just hit 9 o'clock because one of the water fountains on one of the floors, I guess the second floor, because I think it was only 2 stories. But anyway, one of the water fountains would always start just shooting off water all on
Oh,
its own
man.
at 9 o'clock at night.
Golly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's just a big no for me.
Yeah.
Me being the chicken that I am. But hey, I admit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
All right.
folks.
I believe you've got the next one.
Yeah. Now, this next one was sent in to me by one of my viewers, Ned Jackson. He said, Jared, love your stories and the collaborations with Spooky Appalachia. When I heard you guys were looking for stories about the Black Sisters, I had to jump on board. So, back when I was around 12, we lived in Kentucky, and my parents took us on vacation. Our destination took us through Virginia. So Dad had some friends in the area, so we stopped for a visit. Said, we knew the school. No, I said, we stopped in for a visit. They said, we knew the kids So we all went up to play at the school. So that was just up the road. So as the 5 of us were there playing, so my sister just kind of zones out. And she's just staring at the school. We laughed and just kept playing. She starts walking slowly over to the windows. And we start yelling at her. But she don't even seem to acknowledge our existence. Our friend was the oldest, about 15. He runs over and grabs her by the shoulder. She looked confused and said she was supposed to go in. The whispers told her to. She later explained she heard ladies whispering to her, telling her to come inside and find them.
Ooh.
Oh, mercy me, mercy me. Mm-mm.
I wonder if that's something that they did when they were alive, lured kids into the school and took them.
You know, it does kind of make you wonder, because of all the legends and the lore, stuff, how, the things that happened, with the baby and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
And then here's one where one was already talking about hearing whispers and, the other story, so.
Yeah.
Man,
I mean, even when I drive by, my parents still live in that town. And when I have to drive by, it always gives me a weird feeling just driving by.
I've heard a lot of people back when I did my first video about the Black Sisters, and I had a lot of people tell me, on social media and things like that, that just being in that general vicinity, will give you the heebie-jeebies.
Yep, definitely does. I will say that a family member that I lived with, I don't want to dox myself here, worked there. I won't say when or what they did, just for,
Right.
but
Privacy reasons.
yeah, in the summers, I had to go with them to work because they had to go in to work some during the summer when school wasn't in session. And I would wander the halls on my own, and man, it just,
Did you just hear that?
no.
Maybe it was just me.
What was it?
Man, that sounded like something come through one of the mics or something that screamed or something.
Oh.
Man, I'm not joking. My hands are shaking. That scared me half to death.
Ooh, okay. Well, like I said, when I was writing this whole thing, I was really creeped out. But yeah, I would walk through the halls. I don't think I ever saw or heard anything. I can't remember. This was a long time ago for me, but I always just felt real creeped out. It was like a million eyes were just all staring at me at once.
Oh,
You
man.
know?
Right? Golly. Yeah, it's just
But
one of those places that just holds that sort of
yeah,
energy and thing, like it's trapped it there. It will not release it.
yeah. Um, well, I've got two more that I'll read, and you've got, I think, one more from. Yeah, and you've got one more from the old Christiansburg High and Middle School. Um, I was actually just going to do one more, but at the last minute, somebody ended up sending me one.
Right.
So first, another story from that same paper. One of the custodians said that she was working one night cleaning the gymnasium where the well was said to be. This is where Osie's baby was supposed to have been found, as well as the remains of a few others. It is said that if you put your ear to the floor in that gymnasium, you can hear a baby crying. That night, the lady had just finished cleaning the building and left to go do, another place. And she came back for something. And when she did, she noticed child handprints all over one of the windows she had just cleaned. She cleaned it again, and to her horror, small handprints reappeared on the window.
Man alive.
Yeah.
Any story you get like that is spooky, but when it comes to one with the baby,
Mm-hmm. Man.
man. Whew.
All right. And this one was sent. This is the one that was sent in I got at the very last minute here. I almost missed it. But they said this happened to them in 1983. I went to the old Christiansburg Middle School. Thursday JV football games. I'm sorry, Thursday for the JV football games, they opened up the school for the bathrooms. My friend and I walked down to the office and sat down at the bottom of the stairs. Not all the lights were on, and the upstairs was dark. We were sitting there talking, and then all of a sudden, a small pebble fell from the top of the steps into the middle of where we were sitting. No one else could be seen around us or at the top of the stairs. Needless to say, we left the building swiftly.
Dang. Man, that was spooky.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
I
being
had to
sitting
include
there?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did, man. Like I said, that was the spooky one. You can imagine,
Mhm.
just sitting there, just, minding your own business and just out of nowhere, there comes a pebble or something. No. Man alive. Well, this next one was sent in, submitted to me by one of my viewers, Mallory Bain. And this happened in the area at, we're guessing, one of the local stores or shops. It says, I grew up in West Virginia, but my aunt would often visit for a week, and she was from Virginia. So naturally, I grew up on stories about the infamous Black Sisters. She told me one story about a time when her friend was leaving work real late. It was around 10 p.m. Not many was out that night. She locked up and was walking across the street to her car. There was a heaviness in the air. She looked around because something didn't seem right. Just didn't feel right. But she saw nothing. She unlocked her car and got inside in a hurry and locked the doors. As she was pulling out of the parking lot, she saw the three Black Sisters. They were walking down the sidewalk, dressed in their classic black dresses and black veils, but seemed to be floating. She sat there in shock, just completely spellbound. They floated along looking straight ahead, and right before her very eyes, they vanished. She was the manager at that store and worked there for many years till she retired. And that never happened before or after that incident.
Dang.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That'd
I
be
wonder
one
if
of
that
them.
was. Yeah, I wonder if that was some kind of residual haunting type thing or what.
I was kind of wondering the same thing. Maybe it was like you said, like a residual. Maybe if that was one of the places they, frequented or something. Back when they was, alive. Maybe, like you said, it was just a residual. But even if
Mhm.
it was, man, oh life, whew, mercy me.
I would have burnt all the rubber off my tires getting out
I
of
would
there.
have too, man, and probably been seeking employment elsewhere.
Yeah. Now, one interesting thing about there's a couple businesses and buildings that are close by the school, and I think a lot of them, I could be wrong, a lot of them were built around the same time as the school, and they're still standing. And there's said to be tunnels that go from the school to these different properties and businesses because these sisters didn't want to come out at night or be seen. That's just a
Wow.
rumor I've heard. I haven't seen this myself. I've heard people say that they have, but I have not seen this myself.
Right. Well, it does. It would make a lot of sense because I mean, I've heard so many people and seen even, in, old documentaries, about especially back in that era, how people would build underground tunnels to go from one place to another. I mean, they would do it for all different types of reasons, I guess, but apparently that was a pretty common thing back then.
Still seems creepy.
It does, man. That's extremely creepy.
And one last thing on the old Christiansburg High School and Middle School. This is another short one, but I also read that there were a couple times that the school principal got called in the middle of the night by the police. They would say that they drove by and all the lights were off, and then they would drive by again later that night or early morning, and the lights would be on, and to report that someone had possibly broken in or something. Then they'd get there to the school and all the doors would be locked and the lights would be off again.
Yeah. See, if I'd have been a cop back in right there, I'd have had the entire police force and a whole lot of volunteers going in with me to check it out.
And then I guess one last thing, I guess I had an experience at the school, didn't I?
Yeah, you sure did, man.
And I didn't even realize it, but Donald and I went out and filmed the outside of the school. We got there and it just started pouring raining. Wasn't calling for raining at all. And this was the second time we tried to film it. The first time we went, the video was completely scrambled. It was like it was stuck in fast forward motion when we got back and looked at it. That was pretty odd. But the second time we were there, we were filming, and I forget who caught this. I think it was the group Salem, Virginia Paranormal caught in the video. Around the back there was a face in the window. If you pause it
Man.
in just the right spot, and I think you've seen that. It's
Yeah.
pretty creepy,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of them. I mean, it's just unsettling, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the video, like I said, when I remember when I first seen that, man, I thought, oh my Lord. And, like I said, when I first watched it, I thought, hang on, stuff started catching my eyes, and, we was talking about that window up there, and I thought, surely not. And I went back and I paused it and watched, and I was like, that's a face.
Yeah, it looks like a man's face with the mouth wide open, kind of
Yeah.
stretched out,
Yeah,
like it's in
kind of, yeah,
agony or
just,
something.
yeah. I mean, it'll give you chills.
Yeah.
I mean, big time. So, like I said, folks, if you missed that one, be sure and go back and check that one out.
And if anybody listening could get us into film, all we want to do, we're not trying to do a paranormal investigation or nothing. We're just wanting to film the inside and the outside of the school. If one of y'all can get us in there, contact me. Let me know.
Absolutely. Information keeps popping up on the screen, guys.
Yeah, email me.
Yeah, let him know. And big shout out to Donald, too, man, who does such an amazing job, going with you to these places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Donald. But the other location, which I could go film, I guess, anytime I have a couple of free hours because I don't live in the town anymore, is the Sunset Cemetery where Virginia is said to be buried. It's also said that the sisters went and performed rituals on what later became the grave that Virginia was buried in. I'd also heard that lightning struck that grave sometime after she was buried too. I mean, that could just be a rumor though, but
Right.
it's definitely creepy. So the first story, they said this happened in the 90s. Okay, so my older brother and I were bored one night and driving around trying to think of something to do one night when we came up on Sunset Cemetery. Remembering the legends of the Black Sisters, we decided to try and find Virginia's grave and test the legend, which was if you walk around in circles 3 times around Virginia's grave, she's said to appear. We found the grave and walked around in circles 3 times while laughing, but nothing happened. We were a little bit bummed out and on our way back to the car when we noticed what kind of looked like the shadow of a person. We both looked, and it seemed that this shadow was charging towards us. We both screamed and ran for the car. When we got to the car, we noticed it was gone, and we got the heck out of there. And this is one somebody told me that I know. And then another story I heard in passing to do with the cemetery. This happened in the 80s. There, a group of young boys had vandalized Virginia's grave, and they spray painted all over it, wrote "witch" and stuff like that. And then the next morning, the spray paint and everything was completely cleaned off. People believe it either had a spell put on it or the ghost of Virginia removed it.
Man. And that would take something to remove spray paint off of something like that.
I mean, I guess it's possible the groundskeeper could have cleaned it off.
Yeah, that's possible, but still,
That's pretty fast. I mean,
yeah.
spray paint is difficult to get off.
Yeah, and even when you do, there's still usually like a little tint of the color
Yep.
that's left on it. It has to wear off over time. I'm telling you, man, there's just spooky stuff that goes on.
Definitely. Well, Jared, I believe you've got the last story.
I do. And this one was sent to me by another one of my viewers, Mary Pack. Says, "Greetings, Jared. Said, here's my experience. My best friend Jamie lived about an hour from the part of Virginia where the legendary 3 Black Sisters incident happened. Well, one night I was visiting. We was having a girls' night. We were sitting around watching scary movies when it started to storm. Nothing major, just low rumbling. The power goes out. We start talking about ghostly things, and then Jamie has the idea of daring me to go inside the Black Sisters Cemetery. We drive down and get out. Strangeness filled that place. I go in with a flashlight, shining all around. I see a ball of light. It's circling a headstone. I ran out telling Jamie. She laughs and we go back in. I showed her the exact spot where it was circling. And she said, that was the first sister's grave. Ooh.
Yeah. I have heard all kinds of stories about that graveyard and the grave. I've also heard stories that people were just taking photos of it, and there was stuff, oddities in the photos. I've never seen any of these photos though, but that's another thing,
Right.
That I had heard.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, there's so much out there, so many experiences, that if it was 1 or 2 people, yeah, you could say, it's possibly explainable or dismissible, but tons and tons of people have had so many of, similar experiences, and some, with just completely different kind of experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think the one that takes the cake is the lady leaving her shift at work and seeing the apparitions.
yeah, yeah,
That was nuts.
that was, man. That one was really just a mind blower. It's wow. That's one of those. That's one of them. That's the kind. Those are the ones we really look forward. To the for the seeing the full apparitions and stuff like that. Even
Man.
though we look forward to all of them.
Oh yeah, these were all incredible stories. I big thanks to everyone who reached out and sent us
Absolutely.
these and pointed us to the this paper that I was referring to earlier, where some of the stories came from. It was a huge help. Thank you all so much, and everybody that shared out our post about it and got word out there. We
Definitely.
really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video and want us to do some more focused ones on, I guess, local legends at different places, we've got a few in mind, but let us know if you like this. We'll do more, or give us some ideas for some.
Absolutely,
And
folks. Like I said, there were some ideas, there were some, suggestions, and big, massive, thank you guys so much for all the support and positive feedback for our, these collabs.
mhm, we're kind of blown away by some of the comments we get.
Absolutely, being told, these, they're inspiring. We've inspired, some people to start up their own channel. It just,
Mhm.
man, that's the reason right there why we do it. That's one of the big reasons.
Well, if you enjoyed this, be sure to share it around. I noticed my original post about the Black Sisters got shared around a ton, but share this around, get it out there. You know,
Absolutely.
but we would love for more people to hear about these legends and keep
Lord,
these
yeah,
legends and stories alive.
absolutely. Like I said, share
That's
them
what it's
out.
about.
Share out with your friends and family. Just tell folks about us. Word of mouth goes a long way.
Definitely does. And well, I suppose that's it for tonight.
It's been a blast as always.
Oh yeah. And we appreciate y'all, and be sure to take
Absolutely.
care, and yeah.
Be sure, like I said, like, share, and subscribe. And thanks so much, guys. God bless you and your kin. And have a good one.